Is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean7904. Joined today by the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, Canada. It's one TJ Zwarich. TJ, this is totally random. I meant to mention this to you. You know, there's a cartoon. Are you aware of the cartoon? Forget About It. It takes place in Saskatchewan, Canada.
I don't know if I am.
It's I just kind of ran into it on Hulu one day and I started watching it. It's kind of like a fun show to watch. It's a cartoon, but it's adult humor, you know.
Yeah.
But it's about a guy. I won't give too much away, but it's a TV show. He witnesses a crime. He works for organized crime, and he has to get relocated. And where do they relocate him? A place that nobody would find him in Saskatoon. I'm not sure if it's Saskatchewan. It might be Regina, actually. Is that in Saskatchewan?
That is, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I wonder why they picked that city of all places, but that is where he was relocated. So there you go. It's called Forget About It. And there you go. The Paulie Walnuts from Sopranos fame is one of the characters as well. As one person in the chat know this random TV show I mentioned. I think it's from like 5 or 10 years ago or so. I don't think it's still in production, but I do see the chat, by the way. Apparently, Mr. Herbert Good. Shout out to Herbert. Took down a tournament last night, a single entry tournament. So congrats. Hopefully we'll keep that. It was that good Kirk D's mojo. Of course, he gets credit as well for that victory. Kirkwood has given out good mojo yesterday. TJ, you're going to give out the good mojo today. How did your slate go yesterday? Eventful, not eventful? Anything worth talking about, or shall we just talk about today? Because hey, it's daily fantasy sports. All we care about today and today only.
Let's lean into today. I didn't have too much content over this last bit, and I had a day off yesterday, so I didn't actually play. I just took a nice little rest. We've been doing some things around the house. There's, you know how kind of we bought a new house, and then we had our first stage, but we also got married the summer we bought our first house, and so we kind of had this stage one of like getting everything out that we really need and that we use every day, but we're not really taking full advantage of the size of the house and getting it all organized. So now that's what we've been doing over these past few weeks here. Swapped my office around here. I added in a nice little couch so that when I use this big old TV beside me here to do some streaming, some video game streaming when Spider-Man 2 comes out this fall, I'll be prepped for it. So yeah, I've been moving some things around, been keeping busy, but took yesterday off DFS.
It's good to get the mental day off as well. So you got the batteries recharged. Have you seen I guess you've seen it. The new Into the Spideyverse,
Across the Spider-Verse, yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse, which is
pretty fantastic.
Yeah. I've heard it was very good. The first one was good.
We had somebody I noticed from the RotoGrinders YouTube chat. We were breaking down Across the Spider-Verse over on the Agents of Fandom YouTube page and Agents of Fandom Twitch page as well. And usually, our Twitch, we usually have like a couple dozen viewers for the live shows. The podcast are where most people tune in, but a couple dozen viewers for the live shows, and the chat's super active. But nobody really ever goes to YouTube for the live shows. And then I don't remember the specific username, something about Cloud Kicker or something like that. But I noticed them in the YouTube chat for Agents of Fandom when I was doing it, and there was nobody else there because everybody was in the Twitch chat, but they just posted like, "Is the movie good?" And yeah, the movie's really good. It's my only kind of qualm, and it's not really one. It's just like it's very clearly a part one. I almost feel like I was waiting for a bit of a third act that didn't happen, but it's like the third act is the final movie, which comes out in 10 months. And so it's very clearly a part one, but it's like from an animation standpoint, it's the best visual masterpiece in the history of movies. Like it does things no movie has ever done in animation. It's incredible.
That's a bold proclamation. The best visual
it's
masterpiece.
Honestly not. It's like arguable that it's the best movie from a visual effects standpoint ever, but it's very tough to compare animation to non-animation from that regard. But for animation wise, like it's quite undoubtedly the best thing that's ever been done.
Cool. We shall check it out. I thought there was the Venn diagram was like two circles as far as the people that know you from this world and the people that know you from the the Agents of Fandom world. But I guess there's a bit of a crossover. There you go. I guess there's plenty of sports fans that are also into movies and Marvel and all that kind of stuff. That's not terribly unrealistic to have somebody pop up in your chat. Today's slate, big boy slate, not messing around. 13 gamer, I believe, if I counted correctly. We have a game in Coors, the biggest prospect in all of baseball, arguably, depending on where you're looking, but probably, was called up as well. He is 2K on DK. That's Ellie De La Cruz. De La Cruz absolutely smashing in the minor leagues. A bunch of power, strikes out a fair bit too. Will walk. A lot of stolen bases facing Tony Gonsolin. Tony Gonsolin is like the luckiest pitcher in the world so far this season. I don't know if you kind of dug into him at all. Just throw out a number. What do you think Tony Gonsolin's BABIP is for the season? It's pretty goofy.
Isn't it like wildly, wildly low? Like, hasn't he been the luckiest pitcher in baseball this year?
He has. I mean, he's on the Family Feud board if nothing else. He's got a 155 BABIP, which is just completely silly. His ERA is 1.77, but his Sierra is a 5.07. So De La Cruz, excited to see his MLB debut today. 2K on DK. Fanduel added him late to the pool. He wasn't in the pool this morning, but now he's in the pool. He's 2.8 on Fanduel. Of course, 2K on DK, much more useful than 2.8 on Fanduel. Of course, you can play him on Fanduel as well, but I think De La Cruz is going to be really, really popular on DraftKings, and for good reasons. Core slate, we have the Dodgers and Cincinnati, and that's enough to give them a 6 total as well. Let's see, no Altuve, no Matt Chapman, no Carlos Santana. Trying to see if there's anybody else that I kind of missed that sort of was expecting to play baseball but is not. We got Fraley back. Wasn't Fraley? He was scratched yesterday with allergies. That was Fraley, right? It was one of the guys that start with F on the Reds. I forget which one is which sometimes. But
Friedel's on the injured list, so I don't think it was him.
There you go. That's right. Okay, they were both out yesterday. Fraley got scratched at the last second with allergies, and Senzel was the other guy. I guess that's one of the reasons why they pushed up De La Cruz. Also because the Reds have a chance to win the division, right? Because somebody's got to win the NL Central. It's pretty much a disaster. I think the Pirates are currently winning it, and the St. Louis Cardinals, I think, are currently dead last. Or maybe it's Milwaukee. Is it Milwaukee? It doesn't matter. Who cares about records and such things? Your boy Manoah was finally demoted to Florida in single A or something lower than single A.
It's the rookie league. It's the Florida Rookie League. There are 2 leagues, one in Florida, and I don't remember where the other one is, that are even below. Like, there's high A, single A, and then these 2 rookie leagues that are below even single A. And so, it's the lowest possible place you could go, and you're only allowed to play in it if you're a rookie, between a rookie and 4 years in the MLB, or never having played in the MLB. And because this is only his 3rd year, he can still go all the way down to it. So they just said, bro, go figure your stuff out, man.
If he better, he's facing 18-year-olds essentially and 19-year-olds.
Yeah,
he really better mow them down, and hopefully he figures it out. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him for sure. I was happy to see him get pummeled yesterday because we did have some Astros. But all right, what about tonight? Tonight we have a couple some good starting pitching. I think the 2 best are probably Gausman and Keller. Keller probably separates himself because he faces Oakland, and Gausman faces the Astros. They're going to need him to throw a bunch of pitches. He does anyway, but that bullpen is really, if you look at how taxed that bullpen is for Toronto, I was looking at betting over on his pitches thrown, 103.5, or even just outs. I think it was 18.5 or so. They're just, they need them. Yesterday, I don't know if you were watching the game, TJ. You probably weren't. You're taking that mental day off, but they were ready to have the backup catcherman, Heineman, be the starting pitcher, the relief pitcher in the 9th inning. But what happened is Toronto accidentally scored in the bottom of the 8th. And this new rule this year, I'm not sure if you're aware of it. You probably are. Maybe somebody isn't. You have to be down by 8 or more in order to bring a non-pitcher in, which I don't really like that rule. It's a little, come on, make it 7. Come on, let's have some fun. I like when the second baseman comes in to pitch and mop up. But yeah, so Toronto accidentally scored, and they were only down 7 going the 9th inning. So because they were trying to save their bullpen, and they had to, bring another reliever in because they could not bring in the catcher. That was kind of a bummer because they were losing by not enough. All right. In any event, just a little fun fact from yesterday's game. Oh, Jacob deGrom, by the way, went on the Tommy John. That's terrible news. That's a bummer. So hopefully he's back sometime next year. But and Mets fans, I'm sure, are taking their victory laps, right? Is producer Steve, is he fist pumping? Is he excited about this? Or is he feeling empathetic? Who knows? Well, he just types in the chat, classic DeGrom. There you go. So not empathetic. There you go.
Not empathetic.
That was like minus 1,000, I think, not empathetic in the Fanduel Sportsbook. What do you have, TJ?
He's not a bad guy, but he didn't want to stay with us, so whatever. And we knew this was going to happen.
He had it coming, basically, is what I'm hearing.
He's made of glass.
Yeah. He's Mr. Glass. He's Samuel L. Jackson for sure. All right. There's a little reference.
Jackson, are you going to tune into Secret Invasion on Disney Plus, team?
I don't know what that is. I have Disney Plus because it's a part of my like ESPN Hulu package, but I never watch. What am I going to watch on Disney Plus? I can't imagine the last
so much, team. But it's a Marvel show that I don't think you're going to have watched anything else to really understand it. And it's going to be a spy show, like spy thriller, very grounded and
I like that.
More adult oriented. And I'm expecting my screeners in the next few days here. It comes out on the 21st. I'm excited. It's going to be a big one.
He's the star. He's the lead.
Yeah, he's the lead. The cast is pretty crazy. Like it's Samuel L. Jackson, it's Amelia Clark, Colby Smulders, Benedict Kingsley, the guy who played Malcolm X in what's that? The movie with like Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali, some night in Miami, something like that. One Night in Miami.
Yeah. The one that was on Prime.
Yeah. And he was Malcolm X.
One Night in Miami,
so like
5 days in Miami. Yeah.
Yeah. Don Cheadle. Really good cast. And then it's about shape-shifting aliens who have infiltrated Earth as pretending to be people. And Samuel L. Jackson's got to figure out who it is.
Based on a true story, or is this an original story?
I mean, it's definitely not based on nonfiction. Like it's not based on our reality, but I don't know. It pulls a storyline from comics.
Yeah, I was sort of making a joke, but not, All right. I'll check it out. Sure, why not? We'll give it a roll. Well, tell me what you think of it. You look at the screeners and give me a thumb up or thumb down.
Yeah, we'll do. If I immediately watch and it's like, oh, never mind, it's just lots of superhero stuff, then I'll tell you don't have to.
All right, 13 gamer. Again, Dodgers have a total above 6. The Giants lineup are kind of waiting on that against Colorado. They have a total above 6 because they're facing Dinelson Lamet. He's not particularly good. Who knows what the Giants lineup's going to be? We're probably going to get Jock Peterson back today. We may get Yastrzemski back as well. I think he was dealing with like a side or an oblique. But Dinelson Lamet on the mound will make you feel a little bit better as well. Yeah, again, top-tier pitchers, some interesting mid-tier stuff as well. How are you attacking this slate? I think there's many different ways to go for it. I feel pretty good. I'm curious to get your thoughts, but I want, we'll have a conversation about the slate. Of course, in an hour, crunch time comes on and they go around the horn. They get their favorite plays position by position, their favorite pitchers, their favorite stacks, and we'll do that as well. Organically, just got to have a conversation about the slate, whatever comes up, and whatever the chat wants us to talk about. By all means, chat. It's an interactive show. Chime in. Tell us, what did you miss? Why aren't we talking about so-and-so? Or, anything. Point it out. We're happy to talk about it. Happy to oblige. We are here for an hour. TJ, your thoughts?
Chat is doing a good job of right now is hitting that like button. We're already up to 42, so that means we're only 8 likes away. 8 likes away from our first Spidey bomb. Of course, second one will come at 100. Third one at 150, etc. We'll get sneakier and sneakier as we go. But we're right close to the first one here. And in terms of what I'm thinking of the slate, I'm trying to keep a pretty tight pitching pool today. And then there's still going to be tons of different stacks that I am playing because it's a 12-game slate, but I'm working to keep as tight a pool as possible. I'm playing 100 lineups.
DK, FanDuel, what
100
site?
lineups on DK. 100 lineups on DK.
Okay.
And then I want to be playing more lately. Like I want to be doing both sites, do a bunch of home run bets every day, but we're leading into June here and my wife's a teacher and teachers don't get paid in the summer. And so if I'm not, I got to be a little more careful with my bankroll management. I can't be taking big swings every night. And so just playing 100 lineups on DK. and pretty tight pool of pitchers. That was some nice alliteration. And then keeping it as tight as I can with stacks, but with it just being a 12-game slate, there's still a bunch of different teams that I'm going to.
Just got a Milwaukee lineup out. Yelich, Singleton, Contreras, Tellez, Anderson, Toro, Urias, Terang, and Weimer. Probably not one of the more popular stacks on the slate. Do you know exactly who's in and who's out of the pool as far as your pitchers? Or still kind of figuring that out?
Yeah, no, I got that down. I don't know if this next set of lineups that I built will be exactly what I run with here, but I can't imagine my pool changes too much. It'll just be adjusting stacks and things like that. So I have 8 total pitchers in my pool. That's it. Keeping it pretty tight for a 12-game slate. We have reached the amount of likes for Spidey Bomb number 1. Like I said, we're going to get sneakier as we go. There's nobody outside of the Coors game that's really not like chalky that we have to worry about on a slate this big. But from a DFS standpoint, this is a fairly chalky player, and it's Jack Sawinski because the home run odds really just aren't that great anywhere today. There's not a lot of home run bets that I like. And so a plus 400 Jack Sawinski is among my favorites, and he is Spidey Bum number 1.
Facing Caprillion on the season, 51% fly balls. That's a lot. He's been protected to some extent by his ballpark. His home ballpark is super homer friendly and still giving up 1.67 homers per 9, 11.9% homer to fly ball. Again, kind of lucky. Not that Pittsburgh is this homer haven. It's probably slightly incrementally better, right, for hitting homers. But, it's not spectacular. I think it's a little bit better for lefty power than it is righty power. I do want to check that. I'm fairly certain a little bit easier to homers in Pittsburgh down the right field line than it is down the left field line. But Caprillion is bad. Of course, that bullpen is worse. I want to play the feud. We're going to play 8 pitchers. We should sort of knock out, like, obviously you're going to have Keller and Gausman in your pool. Do you have a preference amongst those two? Keller versus Gausman on your Blue Jays. I think obviously he's been doing this better and longer than Keller. Keller's been on the rise. He's certainly the better matchup. That's kind of what enters the conversation. I did mention Gausman. They're going to need him for sure to eat some innings tonight against Houston because that bullpen has been ravaged the last so many days. Especially
I'm adding one more guy in, and I'm not going to get much of him, but I am actually going to make it 9 just because nobody's really playing this guy. He's probably going to suck, but the lineup he's facing is pretty weak, so I'm putting him in. So I got 9 now.
So we're looking at 36% ownership for Gausman and then 26% for Keller's. There's somebody in the middle that we'll talk about in a second as well. But as far as the spending all the way up at the tippy top, $11K for Gausman, $10,900 for Keller. Keller on Fanduel is a tick more expensive than Gausman. I believe it's like $11,300 to $11 or $11,100. Essentially the same. Do you have a preference? Do you have a lean amongst those two? They're both in your pool, yes?
Yes. They're my 2 highest owned pitchers. I have almost 50% of both of them. On the surface, my lean was kind of Gausman just because I think for cash, I would go Keller, but my lean for tournaments would be Gausman, even though that doesn't really make sense based on the ownership projection that we have. I think Gausman's got maybe a bit lower of a floor and a bit higher of a ceiling due to the matchup. And I think Keller is maybe quote unquote a bit safer of a play here. But how it's stacked into my tournament lineups is I think I have 40 in my last build. I don't have to guess. I'll tell you exactly what it is. 48% Keller, 47% Gausman.
Yeah, so both a little bit above the field. I'm just pulling up what I wrote earlier today. The A's, I don't have a specific.
For what it's worth, if I was doing a single entry or a cash game lineup even today, I think what I would be doing is I would try and find cheap bats that I like. We got a min price rookie shortstop that we talked about here. In a tournament, I would try and find a nice cheap stack that I like, maybe like the Cubs. And then I would try and play Gausman and Keller together.
So I did make a shell lineup before the show, and I do play the single entry stuff, and I don't play, 100 lineups. I build, 6 to 8, depending on the day, lineups. And yes, my shell lineup is a combination of Gausman and Keller for the reason you're talking about. I got those two, and I have a couple of big boy bats. We'll talk, Muncy and Betts, who I think Betts is going to be probably the most expensive big bat, in Cincinnati on the road, leading off, great ballpark, well positioned for 5 ABs. As far as Keller against Oakland's like fine against lefties. Against righties, they're horrific. 29th WOBA, 28th in WRC plus, 26th in ISO, 4th in K rate. So not a lot of power, just not a lot of hitting ability in general, and they strike out a fair bit too. The specific lineup today, we can pull that up on the old lineup HQ, and it sort of confirms at 27.4% as far as Ks. He has a couple contact guys, and I call them contact guys loosely. Ruiz is their best contact hitter at 18%, Diaz at 19%, Blade at 20%. Keller doesn't walk guys really, 5.6%, 30.4% as far as Ks. Great ballpark. He's the biggest favorite in this game on the slate. So, yeah, and I said the same thing, basically. I don't like using, like, the safe word, but if you're going to use the safe word, Keller feels really, really safe. And, yeah, Gausman, tough matchup against Houston. There is no Altuve, so that lineup is weakened a bit. And the back half, the back 3 or 4 guys are not very good, and they'll strike out a fair bit too. So, he probably gets them 3 times, right? So I think, like, some pitchers, it matters more who's hitting 1, 2, 3, 4 as opposed to, like, 7, 8, 9. Because they're not necessarily going to go through the lineup 3 times. But I think Gausman does. I think there's a really good chance he goes through 3 times. So he's going to get Maldonado and Myers and Julks and Abreu 3 times. And 22% as far as, striking out. The front half, really, really contact heavy. Bregman, Tucker, DeBone. But the back half is vulnerable to strikeouts. So you like them both. Beyond that, the guy in the middle, as far as ownership, this is where I can't quite figure it out. I don't know. And I don't make enough lineups so I can just say, well, I'm just going to get this percent of this many, this percent of that many. But like Musgrove, 32% against Seattle. We got Freddie Peralta, like 7.7K, who's having a down year, but the price really makes him pretty tempting, getting 24%. And I guess you can add, I don't know if you want to add Paxton and Schmidt to that conversation, but like you're going to have Musgrove and Paxton and Peralta, I think, in your 8 or 9 pitchers in your pool, correct?
One of them is not.
Okay. One of Musgrove, Paxton, and Peralta is not in there?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you're going to have Musgrove. You have Musgrove. I think it's not Paxton just because of Cleveland's ability to make contact, and you're like, what's the ceiling of this guy? So is that correct? I'm going to say Paxton's out, which is kind of surprising.
No, Paxton is in because he absolutely has the ceiling, even though it's Cleveland. This is still a guy that has shown some pretty crazy strikeout upside.
Okay.
And so I'll take the pitcher strikeout ability more than the offensive team. And this Cleveland team, it's not high strikeout by any means, but there are a couple high strikeout bats in there. There are a few guys who will absolutely allow you to rack up the Ks. And this is a guy with an over 30% strikeout rate in a limited sample so far this year, but he's also done it a ton in the past. So Paxton's in the pool. It is Peralta that is not in the pool because even though we do have a bit of a watered down Baltimore lineup today, Peralta just hasn't been good. He's not striking out all that many guys. He's getting hit really hard. He's walking guys. I don't really want to play him.
Yeah, I mean, the absence of Mullins really kind of makes Peralta a little bit more appealing to me. And you're right, the Ks have been not terrible, 23%, just not what you expect, historically. Walking too many guys, 9.4%, that's too much. There are plenty of Ks in this lineup, and it's not great at the end, like with O'Hearn, kind of a platoon specialist, but he's got some power in a small sample. Sure, good for him, but I like seeing him in there. Hicks, the throwaway from the Yankees, whatever reclamation project, it's over for him essentially. Like, good for him, he's hanging on because Mullins is gone. But I have some Peralta. John in chat, by the way, makes an interesting point. I saw this as well about Peralta's tough schedule. As far he's if you want to make excuses for him, that's part of the excuse you can give to him. He's faced Toronto. He was at Toronto, at Tampa, at St. Louis against the Dodgers. Sam Fran beat him up, which that was a matchup he probably should at least direct to some Ks and didn't really get him. And 3, 4, 4, 4 Ks in the last 4 games. That's obviously not what you want either. I see both sides of it, and I'm okay with you making a stand. And the chances of Peralta being the guy that beats you, probably not, right? It's probably not going to happen. So I get it.
That's the thing. It's a slate so big that I kind of just feel like if he was lower owned, then yeah, I'd absolutely be playing him in tournaments today. But the fact that he's going to be 25, 30% owned, I don't really want to get there. I feel similarly about Joe Musgrove, but because how high of a strikeout offense Seattle is, I'm a little bit more worried about that one. And so I do have him in my pool, even though I'm under the field. But it's really more of an ownership thing on a big slate for me with Peralta.
Oh, Fernando Rodney's in the chat. Dude, what up, Fernando Rodney? Shooting the arrow. All right. I don't, it's probably not really him, but I'm still a little bit excited. You remember Fernando Rodney, the closer for like 9 different teams? Detroit, maybe Minnesota. Is that Detroit's the first team I think of? But there you go. Fun closer. I'll tell you, here's another counterpoint for Peralta. When he's been good, he's been really good. 11 starts in the season. That's my UCF math. So don't trust me on it. It might be 12. Let's just say it's 11. He's had 11 starts, and he's had at least 4 times at least 22.5 DK points. So almost half the time he's putting at least 22 DK points. Now the rest of the time he's kind of imploding your team. And so he's been kind of Snell-like, right? All or nothing. So if you're just gonna go with, hey, today's the nothing, sure. Just wildly inconsistent is kind of the way we can look at it. And I hear you. If you want to X him out, by all means, go for it.
It's so difficult. You're making me want to keep him in now.
Well, I mean, look, I'm just giving the information. I'm not making the decision for you. You can't be mad at me if it doesn't work out. If it does work out,
swayed.
But that's a good counterpoint, though, isn't it? Like 5 of the 11 starts, he's been really good. So, and I just this Baltimore lineup without Mullins.
Is so bad, right? It's like it doesn't look good at all. There's no Henderson in there either, who was somebody I was considering playing today. It really doesn't look good. He's given up. He's getting hit harder by righties this year than lefties. And there are a few more of those righties in the lineup that maybe we didn't think were going to happen, but he is still walking more lefties as well. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, the bats got him as neutral as far as his split for what it's worth. I guess I'm not sure how far back that goes. Because we've talked about this before. Like sometimes they're neutral for a year, and sometimes they're reverse splits for last season, the year before that, and there's small samples involved, and there's they're different arsenal, different percentage of as far as how much they're unleashed in arsenal. So it's hard to kind of keep up with some of these guys. But you kind of gave an endorsement of Musgrove, but not really. What percent do you have of Musgrove? Did you say? Because he's going to be pretty popular. Like, I think that's the decision point, right? The 7.8K, 7.7, essentially the same price. Musgrove versus Peralta, and it sounds like you have Musgrove ahead of him. I don't know. I think it's really close. I don't have any confidence in either one of them. I think they're both sort of fine and interesting, and that's probably why I'm leaning toward just give me Gausman and Keller, and I'll figure the bats out as far as my main lineup. You are on mute, sir.
Sorry, yeah, the dogs were barking. That's why I'm on the same page with you as Gausman and Keller, because there's so many of these guys in the mid tier like Schmidt and Paxton, Peralta, Musgrove, that they're all in similar situations. Either they've been really good and they have a bad matchup, or they have a good matchup and they've struggled a little bit, or they have some red flags. But Gausman and Keller are the two I worry about the least. And there are enough cheap bats on this slate that I'm willing to prioritize expensive pitching. Like, yeah, we have Coors and stuff like that, and some Dodgers that we really like today, but we do have a lot of cheap bats on the board as well. So I'm prioritizing the expensive guys here. I just made a new build that had Peralta in the pool, and it's got Musgrove and Peralta at each 15%.
So what are we at? We got 10 pitchers now in the pool. Is that what we officially counting now? 10?
Yeah, and now Gausman and Keller are all the way down to 40%. And so I don't know if I love it. I might tighten it still, but I might leave it with 10 to make sure that I can still get enough of the stacks that I like today. This is like the stack group that I've looked at that I've liked the most since I've started building, like the order of how much I have of each team. And so because of that, it does have me thinking a little bit, all right, maybe I do want to keep more of these cheaper pitchers in my pool.
Just one extreme umpire as of right now. Extreme hitters umpire for the Beebs, Shane Bieber, and James Paxton. Paxton, I believe, was in your pool. I do not think that Bieber's in your pool at 9.6. This is not the Bieber from 3 years ago. He's just not getting enough strikeouts, and it's just it's not a great strikeout matchup. He should not be 9.6. I say Bieber's not in your pool, and just kind of give me your. You already talked about Paxton. Yeah, I'm not getting there in Bieber. Is Bieber getting an X for you?
He's getting the X for me. He's a great real life pitcher. He is not a great DFS pitcher. It's a 12-game slate. He just doesn't have the same type of upside as some of these other guys.
We can say something similar, at least. Gilbert, a really good real life pitcher. Obviously, the walks are spectacular. The Ks are not necessarily elites, but we're getting an elite asking price, 9.9. The Padres forever underwhelming. They just never seem to quite get there. Again, yesterday, disappointing if you played a bunch of Padres. Not actively looking to pick on them. Curious if Bogarts goes on the IL today. They're talking about him possibly taking a stint. We'll see. But Gilbert at 9.9, I'm just wondering if he's in your pool because I feel like he's like a good pitcher, but you want to pay 9.9 for Gilbert? Probably not. Is he in or out? If you got like 5% if you have any.
He's out. No Gilbert today. Got to keep this as tight as I can. If I'm taking shots on guys, they're the cheap guys. I'm not taking shots on too many other expensive guys outside of Gaussman and Keller because I do have some Hunter Brown in there as well to sort of ruin the game a little bit.
That's what I was going to ask. That was the next guy I was going to.
I didn't want to like lie, and so I figured I will compromise the integrity of the game instead of the integrity of myself. And so Hunter Brown is in the pool. But I don't need to take shots on guys like Gilbert when I would just rather go up to Gaussman or Keller. I would rather take shots on some of these less good, cheaper pitchers because that'll at least get me to get a different lineup formation with some more expensive stacks in there.
How kind of you to say less good? Like, oh, he's horrific. He's terrible. You're trying to be nice. And who are we to say this guy? This guy would strike us out 1 billion times, right? We're saying he's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. I got to give positive vibes too, because if I'm taking shots on them, I don't want to say they're crappy.
Brown's getting 6% against Toronto. Toronto again, kind of a somewhat underwhelming offense. Depends on the day you catch him, I suppose. The lineup looks pretty weakened with the absence of Chapman. Oh, here's a question for you, and I'm kind of framing this in a way. I was watching the Toronto broadcast yesterday. Again, no Chapman. It's Springer, Bichette, Vladdy, Belt, Merrifield, Varsho, Kirk, Kiermaier, and Espinal. Vladdy this year has 9 home runs, 9 after 2+ months of the season, right? You know how many homers he has at home?
0.
What up with that? That's wild. I mean, I'm not a big home road split guy, and I'm not saying to look into that. I assume he'll be fine. He can start homering at home at some point. But that's just sort of weird, right? That's just strange. No home runs.
He's has a 48% hard hit rate this year. He's hitting with a ton of power. He's hitting with not a ton of power, but a decent amount of power and a ton of contact. It'll come. It's just weird.
Yeah. So I agree. Brown 6%, 7% as far as ownership, and you didn't say what you had. I mean, obviously you don't have to give out the exact number, but is it somewhere around 5 or 10% as far as Brown, a pinch?
It'll be over. It'll likely be over, like between 10 and 15.
The chat's playing along. They want to know if you have any Dunning. Dunning, speaking of home runs, Dane Dunning has given up exactly as many home runs as Vladdy has hit at home. Dunning has been super, super lucky as far as homering the fly ball. His home run the fly ball rate is 0%, 32% fly balls, just not giving any home runs. His ERA is 2.06. His Sierra is more than double that at 4.37. I don't believe I'm playing any Dunning. I'm definitely not playing any Dunning. He is, if you're running 150, if you're running 100, I suppose you can get a little taste if you want it. But I still think the Cardinals are a respectable offense, despite the fact that them being one of the worst teams in the league record-wise. And Dunning isn't super cheap, right? 8-1 on Fanduel, 7-2 on DK. I'm not there. You have any interest in Dunning? Is he in the pool for you?
No Dunning for me today. Just if he was like a high 5K, low 6K going up against the Cardinals, then maybe I'd want to take some shots. But no, the Cardinals are a good offense, and Dunning's due for some negative regression. I don't really feel the need to get there today.
You're going to have some Clark Schmidt, right?
I am going to have some Clark Schmidt. You are correct.
Talk to me about Clark Schmidt.
Bit of a wonky pitch count situation with him. Like, he's had some games that he gets pulled early, but as the season has gone on, it has progressed to not really be an issue, and he's been getting well into games as long as he's pitching well. 26% strikeout rate this year. He's even better to right-handed bats, which he is going to be facing 6 of today. The White Sox aren't very good. They got Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez that hit for a decent amount of power, but they also strike out a lot. And outside of somebody like a Gavin Sheets, who for some reason, even against righties, they bat 7th as opposed to like 4th. There's not that much there. So I really, really like Schmidt for tournaments today.
All right, kind of working our way down. And for what it's worth, Schmidt's getting 15% ownership on DK. What is this? As of 4:30, maybe I can give it a refresh. You might have new ownership coming in any minute now. Obviously, the closer we get to lock, the more refined it becomes, the more lineups that are coming in, the more perfected it is. Okay, so any minute now it should be coming in because it's still as of an hour ago, this ownership batch. Kind of work on my way down. How many more pitchers do we have to acknowledge that are in your pool? Let's see, who else could be in there? I certainly hope it's not Tyler Anderson. Don't tell me you're running on Tyler.
He's 5'6". He's in the pool.
Oh man, that's a bad one. I don't like it. I don't like it. Go ahead. I got the counterpoint ready to go. But tell me about. Is there just the point? Is just it's Tyler Anderson. He's 5'6". He's throwing baseballs, and that's that. He's cheap?
Yeah, that's it. That is the entirety of the point.
Okay. Do you have a lot of them, or just like 20%, 5%?
About 10%, 10, 15% maybe. And the Cubs are also going to be one of my higher owned stacks today.
Okay, there you go. I like that. Playing both sides of it.
Yeah.
For the survey today, I wrote up the Cubs as like my sneaky stack. There's 3 things. So there's many things, but 3 things that I look for in a pitcher when I'm considering, hey, do I want to stack against this guy? How are the strikeouts? Are the strikeouts low? Are they terrible? They are low. They are terrible. 13.8%. That's gross. How are the walks? The walks are high, 10.5%. That's too high. Does he allow a lot of fly balls? He does allow a lot of fly balls. He has the Slate's lowest K rate, the walk rates in double digits, the highest SIERA at 5.83. I like the Cubbies much more than I like Tyler Anderson, but I hear you, just like salary cap reasons, and I guess he's the best option down there amongst like no other options. I would say Liberator, but I just hate the way the Cardinals are jerking him around as far as like this guy's like this young stud pitcher of the future, like potential ace at some point. Who knows? We'll see. Like he goes out there, he pitches spectacular, and they bench him for like 10 games, and they throw him in the bullpen for an inning when they're throwing out nonsense like Steven Matz. Like, what are they doing? I feel like I'm summoning my inner STL cards, ranting about the Cardinals, but the way they treated Liberator is just gross. And obviously I don't really want to pick on Texas either. I know I've heard people say Texas's offense is sort of mediocre. I don't necessarily agree with that. Maybe it'll be a depressed team knowing that Jacob deGrom is gone for the season. But the Liberator thing, I'm just going to check back in 5 days. I just don't like what the Cardinals have done with how they're handling him. It's just sort of weird. Not looking to pick on Texas. How many more spots do we have left?
2, and he's one of them.
Okay, so yeah, I go ahead. I mean, I get it. But what do you want to add as far as Liberator?
You basically nailed it. Potential upside. He's got a lot of talent, and he's nice and cheap. Texas is a team with a ton of power, but this is also a team with some strikeouts in that lineup, especially when you get to the back half. So he's cheap. I'll have 10-ish% of him today, not taking some big stand. This is the pitcher we want to be playing today, but in 100 lineups to make sure that I can get the Dodger stacks, the Braves stacks today. I need a couple cheaper pitchers in some lineups. Okay,
so the last one's going to be, there's one left, correct?
Yes.
It's either going to be Kyle Gibson or Lucas Giolito. I think it's going to be Kyle Gibson because, I mean, I know there's no Aaron Judge for the Yankees, but Giolito almost 9K. You tell me. It's one of those two, right?
Yeah, it's Kyle Gibson. That lineup for Milwaukee just came out, and it's really not very strong, And I even didn't hate the idea of popping a Milwaukee stack today in some of my lineups. I didn't mind that idea one bit. But then I just look at the way this team is set up, and there's Tellez in the 4th spot at first base, and then Singleton at the 2nd spot at first base. Abraham Toro is in there today. It's not a strong lineup, and so I'll throw Gibson in there just in case he can weasel his way to 20 fantasy points today, because he doesn't really have a pitch count, and Milwaukee's not very good.
Yeah, I'm good with that. They're really missing Willy Adames, right? And not that Adames is a guy you can at least strike out, but just his power presence. It just feels like that one. I was looking at that lineup like, why does it look worse than it typically is? And that's one of the reasons. I know they're missing somebody else as well, but just kind of eyeballing it, it looks pretty rough. Anything else of note as far as pitchers? Do you want to give a summary as far as pitchers? I'm trying to see anybody in the chat. Anybody you want us to talk about? I feel like we touched on basically anybody on some sort of relevance. Yeah, the chat doesn't really have anybody else. Just please don't say you have Giolito. You do not have Giolito.
Do not.
I guess the summary. Give me the summary as far as arms.
Yeah, so summary in terms of arms today, I'm trying to get close to double Kevin Gausman and Mitch Keller. It doesn't look like I'm going to be getting quite that high, especially with Gausman, but I'm going to be having definitely over 40% and hopefully upwards of 50% of both of these guys today. From there, I'm spreading things out a little bit. I did expand my pool. It started out as 8. Now it's 10. But Anderson and Liberator, I got, and as well as Kyle Gibson, I have caps that I want max 10% of them. Peralta and Musgrove, I have it capped at 15%. And then Schmidt, Musgrove, and Brown, I have it capped at about the 20% range. So that's kind of how I'm doing things. I'm spreading out a lot of SP2s, but I'm really trying to get as much Keller and Gausman as possible.
But it looks like we're going to get a fill-in for Roth. Roth is not going to be able to make the show later. It doesn't appear to be anything dicey going on weather-wise. I'm checking out the weather report now. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in chat for the people. Nothing beyond there's no orange. There's no red. We are yellow-green in Washington. It is Washington, so, be warned. Washington does goofy things sometimes. Colorado is yellow, but, again, if anything comes up, I assume Roth will update it. But as far as I can tell, nothing to be afraid of. Byron in chat's asking about Elder. Elder for Atlanta. He's weird, man. I was looking at his stats this season. A lot of ground balls, right? Tons of ground balls. 22.8% ground balls to be specific. I'm sorry, that's fly balls. The ground balls are 57.6%. Just not giving up a bunch of homers at all, like 9.5% homer to fly ball, 0.55 homers to 9. He just doesn't really, fit the build for me as far as Elder. I don't really want to pick on the Mets outside of, I was going to say Citi Field. Is it still called Citi Field? I think it is. Obviously, it's a big ballpark jump for them. But, like, Elder's just too expensive. Is like basically $10K on FanDuel, 9.4 on DK for Elder. I just don't see him beating me. Is kind of where I'm at. Your take as far as Elder, obviously he's not on your list. Just what's your reasoning why?
Yeah, same page. It's a tough matchup. He's been very lucky to start the year in a price range where I just feel like I don't really need him. There's other guys I'd rather go to there. Like I said, I'd much rather take shots on some of these guys that are at least going to save me some salary, whereas I don't really feel like, for what Elder is, he's at a price point that I want to get to him. So no Elder for me today in my pool. And we are almost at the next Spidey bomb as well. We are 8 likes away, so hit that like button for the second one. And then we should be able to easily get up over 150 likes to get a third Spidey bomb in here before the crunch time crew comes, because it is still nice and early, 5:45. And we got over 350 people watching, so hit that like button. Spidey bomb number 2 today. It's Anthony Rizzo for the New York Yankees. I don't think too many people are going to the Yankees today, and I do find them very interesting in tournaments going up against Giolito. They're very low owned. I like Anthony Rizzo's home run odds. You can find him up over, I believe, like plus 30 was where I was looking at it. Plus 430 was where I was looking at him at. And so I like Rizzo today as a home run bet, and I like him as a DFS play, only 4K on DraftKings, and I like the Yankees as a contrarian staff.
I was looking at Weather Edge, pretty neutral as far as the ballpark there for the Yankees. 168 games, 0.6% for homers. Chief meteorologist Kevin Roth, his Weather Edge tool, you get that a part of RG RotoGrinders Premium. Premium, let's see. We're getting a bump in home runs in Cincinnati in a 75-game sample. Wind blowing out to 9 miles per hour, 83 degrees, 19% bump on homers, 8.3% bump in runs. That's one of the reasons why the Dodgers are looking at a team total above 6. Cores should be all right. A slight bump to homers, slight decrease to runs, but nothing too crazy. You mentioned picking on Giolito, a lot of fly balls, 46.4% fly balls this season. Lucky as far as homer in the fly ball, 12.4%, a little bit low. Still 1.45 homers per 9. And you mentioned the Yankees. I think people are going to be look, it's 13 games. Is it 13 games? I think it's 13, right? Or is it 12? It's 12. A lot. 12 games. People are just not going to be, it's going to be spread out, and the Yankees are going to be basically an afterthought. So ownership-wise, or generally speaking, as far as ownership when it comes to offenses, the Giants will be somewhat popular when we get that lineup, I assume. The Dodgers, I think, are going to be crazy popular. That's one I'm just sort of aware of as far as ownership. Pittsburgh to some degree, although some of the guys that I thought might be in the lineup aren't going to be in there. De La Cruz individually for Cincinnati, hitting cleanup, is going to be super popular, especially on DK, where he's 2K. Fanduel, he's 2.8. He's still pretty good price, but on DK especially, he is going to pop. I'm seeing,
We had a question in chat about Tony Gonsolin on FanDuel for tournaments.
Yeah.
That's not somewhere that I'd be going. On FanDuel, my pool would be even tighter than it was on DraftKings, of course, because we're only playing one pitcher, not two. But I think the entirety of my pool on FanDuel would be Keller, Gaussman, Paxton, Musgrove, and Schmidt. Paxton and Musgrove would just be like, Musgrove is just because of that 8.3 salary, and he does project just so much better than Tony Gonsolin. Like, it's not like it's a few points, and it's not like Musgrove is overly chalky on FanDuel, so I would just rather go there. Paxton's got the strikeout upside, and basically nobody's playing him. And then Clark Schmidt at 7.7, if I'm not paying up for Keller or Gaussman, would definitely be the first place I'd go. Like, if I was doing a single entry or 3-entry max, Schmidt's the only guy I'd consider other than Gaussman and Keller.
One thing I would add to your point about Gonsolin, I don't want to play him. Super lucky. We talked about his BABIP earlier, 155, which is completely absurd. His pitch count, they kind of subdue him. And on FanDuel, you really want to get that QS. You really want to get that quality start. Can he be super efficient and go 6? Sure, it's possible. But the likelihood of him getting a quality start compared to a lot of the guys isn't really there. So I agree with you. I would not play Gonsolin on FanDuel. Somebody asked earlier as far as cash on DK, who they would play. I'm not playing cash games on DK today. If I were, I would just be pairing Keller and Gaussman. For what it's worth, our optimals. Very first one is Schmidt and Keller. The second one is Gaussman and Keller. Then Gaussman and Keller. Then Schmidt and Keller. So that's kind of what it's shuffling between. Is that where you would be as well? Some days I play cash, some days I don't. I am not today. But I would just say, give me the Gaussman and Keller combination, and I'll figure the bats out. There's plenty of cheap bats I like.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you there as well.
All right. By the way, when you're asking questions, please, we encourage questions in chat. By all means, fire them off. Give us specifics. Let us know, like if you're playing on FanDuel, if you're playing on DraftKings, tournaments, large field tournament, single entry tournament, 3-entry max tournament, all that kind of stuff helps us answer the question. Jared's asking a question. Hey, TJ, you like any cheap first baseman for cash? Well, I don't know what site he's talking about. I don't know how you want to answer that. I thought Santana was a good play for first if you wanted to punt him, but of course he's not playing today, so cross him off the list. I think Mancini's interesting for tournaments for all the reasons before we're talking about the Cubbies taking on Anderson. I don't know if he's a cash game first baseman, but you have a cheap first baseman you like for cash. I'm not sure what site. Feel free to answer that however you wish.
So on DraftKings, I don't think I would be going any cheaper than 4K. You have Anthony Rizzo, Lamont Wade, Christian Walker, all right there. I think Wade is the cash game guy, although I do really like Rizzo and Walker for tournaments. But I don't think you're wanting to go lower than 4K on DraftKings. If you are like 3,500 Connor Joe, maybe. Not super cheap, but I think that'd be the lowest I'd be looking to go at first base on DraftKings. And then on FanDuel, depending on how cheap you're looking to go, like still I'd be probably looking to hang out in that 3K range, and like Tella's at 2,900 would be as cheap as I'd want to go.
All right. Stacks. Let's talk some stacks. I see your questions in chat. We'll get to them as well. Please keep asking and firing away. We're here for the next 25 minutes. No crunch time comes in. Y'all get Will, Chief Justice. TJ may stick around depending on if we get another host, depending on if somebody's going to come in to relieve Roth. You might be working double duty and turn to hosting duty. And I believe it's TastefulTides. Tim's going to jump in as well, give some tournament takes. They're going to give their favorite plays position by position, their favorite pitchers, their favorite stacks, do the whole deal. Today, as far as stacks, myself, Napster Man, Tim, TastefulTides, Kirkwood, Kirk D's, we collectively ranked our favorite stacks. We have the Dodgers number 1, the Giants number 2, Atlanta 3, Pittsburgh 4, Arizona 5, Texas, then Colorado. Do you think that's right? Is there something you disagree with? Is there something too high, something too low, something not even on the board? I wanted to mention the Cubs. I couldn't quite get there. They're probably like my 6 or 7 team, but that's why they're kind of sort of somewhat sneaky. Yeah, how do you feel about that ranking? Dodgers, San Fran, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Texas, Colorado.
I do like that ranking, but I'm with you. I'd want to put Chicago up there as well, specifically for their prices. Like, that's a team that they're not picking up much ownership today, and you can make a nice looking stack in a good matchup against Tyler Anderson while paying up for Gaussman and Mitch Keller together. And so I'd throw Chicago up there. For me, I'd want to put the Yankees in there as well for tournaments. And then outside of that, it's basically the exact same for me. I'm interested in Cincinnati against Gonsolin as well. And then the only other teams in my pool are Washington, Toronto, St. Louis, and Seattle. But all of those teams are just like ones that it's like I might have a stack or two in 100 lineups.
Worth noting, Washington, as far as I can tell, the Nationals still with an all right-handed bullpen. So, you feel a little bit better as far as pinch hits, that kind of thing. If there's no lefty coming in that bullpen, we do have Smith leading off. We've seen Smith come out of the game when a lefty comes in. Got to feel pretty good that Smith's going to stick around the entire game, leading off on the road, pretty well positioned for those 5 ABs. And also you're facing Jake Irvin, one of the worst pitchers on the slate. So Arizona, I don't know, are they sneaky? Are they not sneaky? They're not going to be that heavily owned, right? Because, there's a lot of different places to go. So the pie's getting cut up many different ways, but Arizona is one of those teams I definitely want to get at least one stack of. Carroll's going to have the platoon advantage throughout the entire game as well. Same with Rojas. Maybe Josh Rojas will hit his first homer this season. I was looking at some of the players that have yet to homer this year. Josh Rojas, Tim Anderson. When I was digging into him today, Anderson, it's unbelievable. 6 extra base hits this year, 6 and like 172 at bats. He's got a career high hit percentage, but a career low fly ball percentage. He's leading the league. This is not what you want to lead the league in fly ball percent. I think it's 15% fly balls, and it turns out, TJ, it's hard to hit home runs when you're hitting ground balls. It's really hard to do. You need like some fielders
really fast.
He's fast, but he's not that fast.
Really fast.
Like the Flash?
Yeah.
You're talking about? Yeah.
Sonic Hedgehog.
There's somebody else too. I was like really, it was also on that list. The Marlins signing, not Arise. Arise has 1. He's batting 400 and good for him or close to it. But Segura, also another guy with 0 home runs on the season. I did want to mention before we kind of move on and talk about the questions in chat, other stuff as far as stacks. We got to shout out the sponsor of the first portion here of Grinders Live, Stat Hero, unique fantasy sports platform you already know and love, allows users to compete against the house instead of players in a contest. The Searing 12 contest may be over, but the Searing 15 contest for the NBA playoffs and the Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em, they're just getting started. Free-to-play contest, win and start your streak. Keep your streak alive by playing each and every day. Build a streak, win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and cash prizes. $10,000. That's the cash prize. First prize for the Searing 15 and $20,000. That is the first prize for the Searing 20. Use the promo code GRINDERS, GRINDERS, for a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. I have to ask, TJ, we've covered this a couple times. Is the swag on your way? Is the RG swag coming? I know it's a long distance to get all the way up there in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, but Have you inquired? Are you getting some swag, some RG swag? You gonna rep or what?
I haven't reached out in the Slack. If somebody wants to reach out and send it to me, I'll definitely oblige. But I've been pretty busy. Doing RotoGrinders stuff, starting some NFL season-long rankings positionally that I'm going to be writing up as well.
Are you? Okay.
And then of course doing stuff for Agents of Fandom as well. So it's been a busy time. I haven't reached out for that yet.
All right, questions in chat. I'm just working back here, and I'm in the YouTube chat. If you guys are on YouTube, kindly hit that like button. Kindly subscribe. Turn on those notifications so you know when we go live. We're basically, if there's a show going on or if there's a slate going on, we are going to be going live in some capacity. Aaron wants to know, best pitcher value on FanDuel, point per dollar upside. Would you say it's Musgrove? Best point per dollar upside pitcher on FanDuel. Like, rarely are you going to be the most expensive pitcher and be the best point per dollar guy. It's like not how math works, so I don't know if that's the answer he's looking for. But how would you answer that as far as upside point per dollar? You mentioned Paxton before. Is that your favorite in that grouping, or is it possibly Musgrove?
Clark Schmidt on FanDuel, I think, has to be the guy. Is the only one below 8K, and he's kind of my favorite one, just straight up of that group anyway.
Brian says, can someone tell me the difference between first stack max percent and second stack max percent? I believe this is a lineup HQ question.
I got it.
Okay, yeah, it's the secondary stack basically, right? Go ahead, feel free to.
Yeah, so that first tab, the first stack percentage, when you have it, when you go to the stack and you look at your quick stacks and you have like 5-3, 5-2, 5x, or on FanDuel 4-4, 4-3, 4-2, 4x, your first stack max percentage is how many times that you're looking to get that either 4 or 5 man stack. That group at the beginning there. So if you're trying to get a lot of full stacks, that's what you put there. The second stack max percentage, that's based on your secondary stacks. So on DraftKings, your 3-man stacks, your 2-man stacks, your mini ones, or on FanDuel, sometimes that is another 4-4 or a 4-3 or like a 3-man stack or a 2-man stack as well. And that's where it builds those max exposures from.
We major, how do we like Henry on FanDuel against the Nationals? I would say we don't like him. I don't want to speak for you. There is not a mouse in my pocket. I'm just speaking for myself. But, Henry on the season's got a 15% K rate. That's bad. His walks are bad at almost 10%. Yes, Washington, the Nationals, they're bad too. But there's just not a lot of strikeouts in that lineup. Less than 20%, 18.2% specifically against lefties this season. What are you really hoping for by rostering Henry? I guess he can sort of BABIP and eke his way to 6 innings and giving up 2 runs or something like that. But what's he going to get, 4 or 5 Ks? Maybe he gets lucky, he gets a win, but there's really no upside in that. So we're both off Henry. Yes, you said no, correct?
Correct.
I don't have an answer for this. I'm going to yield. I don't know. Peralta versus Musgrove. Joseph's asking Peralta versus Musgrove, and man, that's a tricky one. I'm not sure.
I have a slightly lean to Musgrove.
Let's see. Parabay, best shortstop on FanDuel other than Betts for a single entry small pool. Betts has 3 position eligibility on FanDuel right now, second, short, and outfield. Elide De La Cruz, I think he's third base on FanDuel, right? Let me double check. I'm pretty sure he's third base on FanDuel and shortstop on DK. So I was going to say De La Cruz, but he's not eligible.
On FanDuel. He's 2.8 on FanDuel at third base, and then he's the flat min price on DraftKings at shortstop.
Okay, so I'm pulling up our rankings at shortstop. We do have Betts number 1, Estrada number 2, not cheap, but we're expecting him to crack that lineup versus in Coors versus Dennis Lamet. Tatis is still 4K. I like Swanson. That will be my answer. Picking on Tyler Anderson at 3-1. You tell me you feel free to copy it by all means if you want to, steal it. If you want to snatch Swanson, we talked about the Cubbies a little bit already, but he's my favorite for tournaments. I'm playing some for sure.
On FanDuel, yeah, I think my favorite for tournaments on FanDuel, honestly, it probably still is Betts.
We said besides Betts, right? I wasn't using him.
I like Volpe.
Yeah?
I like Volpe in a Yankee stack.
Where is he hitting? Has he moved up with Judge being out of the lineup?
He's 5th today.
Okay. Yeah, I'm mostly ignoring the Yankees. I hope they're quiet. I'm not rich like you, TJ. I can't play every single lineup. I can't just like get every possible combination.
I mean, you say you're not rich like me, but I bet your entry fees are higher than mine today.
They might be. They probably. Yeah. Well, they don't less. You know what? How rich? I can't play in those. The quarter arcade or the dollar or whatever.
Yeah, I've definitely expanded past the quarter ones. Like they kind of lost its fun, and the 50 centers. But I do that. I always 150 max the $1 one now.
It's good to get reps in. Like, I'm not saying this just for everybody. Just to get, if that's the kind of thing you want to kind of delve into.
My thought process is if NFL season goes for me, typically how NFL season goes for me, which is what I'm saving most of my bankroll funds for. Then hopefully by next year, I'll be doing back the things I was a couple years ago before I bought this house, where it's like, yeah, I'll MME that $15 one. I'll do the $500 single entries. But I need until then, I feel like I just want to practice up on the $1 ones until we step it up for NFL season.
We got some more lineups. San Diego, Kim's leading off. There is no Bogarts again. Kim, Tatis, Soto, Machado, Sanchez, who homered again yesterday, almost did it twice, just missed the second time. He just left of the foul pole, he's destroying baseballs again. Good for him. Sanchez, Cronenworth, Dixon, Odor, and Nola. We also got Buxton on the IL. That's kind of a bummer. The Mariners just dropped Crawford, J-Rod, France, Kelnick, Hernandez, Big Dumper, Kyle Rowley, Suarez, Ford, and Wong. I think Ford and Trammell are basically going to flip-flop, like depending on when the pitchers come in. I'm not sure if we've seen that just yet, but I think that's the plan. Trammell's still in the team, right? I know Ford was called up for somebody.
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah. All right. More questions loading up in chat. You have not been around long enough to know the Hyde versus Forte old school season long question.
It's like Forte because he has more receiving upside.
Derek wants to know for DK tournaments, JD Davis or Wisdom, Patty the Tooth, no, Patty the Brain, Wisdom, or JD Davis as a one-off. Who do you prefer amongst those two? I prefer Wisdom personally.
I'd probably do Davis because it's Coors, but I do like Wisdom too.
All right, I'm scrolling up because I missed a few questions. Okay, so do we have a read on this De La Cruz kid, and what kind of score do you think you need from a 2K guy? I mean, depends on how everybody else does. You can get a 0 from him, and theoretically, you can still take down a tournament. That's just how baseball stuff works, right? There's no like basketball where you need 5x, that kind of thing. Good question, though, from Amba. And I think it's worth talking about De La Cruz. I'm curious where we have his ownership. He's batting cleanup, and what a power move, by the way. Just throw the kid right at cleanup. Again, it can't be under stressed. He's the number one prospect in baseball, essentially universally. At worst, you see him like at 5 or 6, whatever it is. But Ellie De La Cruz, smashing baseballs. He's had a couple walk-offs. I've watched some of his highlights. You only get one homer, but he hits them like 500 feet sometimes. Facing Tony Gonsolin and all his lucky BABIP. We know it's a great ballpark, hit home runs as well. Strikes out a fair bit too, does walk. Also, he'll get a stolen base. I think it was like 11 or 12 homers, 11 or 12 stolen bases so far this year. 21 and change as far as his age, super young, uber prospect. But 2K is too good. He's going to be like, if you're playing cash games, I think he should be there in your lineup. And I think it's interesting because earlier today, we are looking at Marcano, another punt for the Pirates, leading off against Kaprelian, whatever's coming into that terrible Oakland bullpen. No, wait, never mind. It was the other guy. No, a different person's not playing, right? There's another guy who was like 2K or 2-1 that's not playing for Pittsburgh. Am I correct in saying that or no? No, that's the guy, right? How much is he on DK? 2-1 or 2-2?
Marcano's 2-1. Yes,
and they're both shortstop. I guess I should ask, which one do you prefer amongst those two? I mean, earlier in the day, optimals were giving you Marcano because he's 2-1 leading off against, Kaprelian. But I prefer De La Cruz. You can play them both depending on how you're making your lineups and yada, yada. But the upside
you can't play them both on DraftKings because they're both shortstop eligible with nothing else.
I mean, like different paths, different lineups. But
I got you.
I didn't mean if that's the way it sounded.
Marcano used to have eligibility elsewhere too, but he's just shortstop now.
So what are you doing with that as far as your shortstops? And then I think I'm checking ownership. I feel like those two guys are probably the two most heavily owned shortstops. And if you want to spend up,
it's not crazy. This is not like Fernando Tatis or even that dude Royce Lewis, who was 2K and picking up a ton of chalk. Like,
he fell on his head. I think he's fine.
We're projecting 15% ownership for him.
I'll take the over on that.
And about a half percentage different for Marcano. And so, yeah, I like, you know me, I like to do my full stacks when I'm MMEing, but I actually have 0-5-3 lineups today. I did everything set in lineup HQ. I want 5-2s and 5Xs so I can get my one-offs in. I have 61% Ellie De La Cruz today.
Yeah. And that's probably what I would do too. I love it.
I have 60% De La Cruz, 20% Marcano, and then no one more than 6%, but these are the only other 5 guys in my pool. It's Bichette, Volpe, Swanson, McLean, and Seager.
It's a really tough job to do ownership stuff, and it has to get refined. And again, we still have an hour until lock. But 14% on De La Cruz and 13% on Marcano, I think both are going to be higher. And then 10% for Duran, I think is going to be distinctly lower. I just don't believe that Duran's going to get 10% batting 8th versus Liberatore. I think both those guys get more, De La Cruz and Marcano. But I do think it's interesting to consider Swanson, Seager left on left with almost 6K, 5.6K. Bichette, these guys are just not going to get played. Just like Swanson especially does an awesome tournament play on DK. Fanduel, different conversation, just the way builds work, and the price is really good on Fanduel, but you got to really pay for Swanson on DK. Just think it's an interesting conversation as far as how you handle shortstop specifically, because cash lineups, like, you got to pick one of those two cheapies. And tournaments, you want to be different. It's very easy to be different. Let's see. Tankenstein wants to know what about those Angels? How do we go with the Angels today?
I am trying to get to as much Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani as I can today, but I'm honestly not getting to any full Angel stacks.
How do we feel about taking the Braves' first 5 innings? I have not looked at that, to be honest. I would just say, for those kind of questions, those kind of things, watch, scores and odds. Check out scores and odds for our sports gambling needs, player prop needs, things like that. And also Chief Will, he'll be on later. Maybe he might actually have some takes for player props and angles like that. But he's got a show. His Take Your Pick'em show is on 10:30 in the morning, where the lines are a little bit better to get him out there in the ether. But I don't have a particular lean. I like the Braves. I haven't really thought about them first 5. I don't know what the line is first 5. Atlanta's a good team. I want some shares. They have some cheap outfielders outside of Acuna. Love Olsen. Riley on Fanduel at 3-1 is awesome. I'm fine picking on Carrasco, just not what he used to be. Yeah. Do you have a take on that? Or, 10.5 total. That's a huge total in that game. Obviously 2 good offenses.
Yeah, sorry, I just missed that. I just saw I'm doing the double duty, and so I was prepping a Spidey Bomb monologue. What was the question?
No worries. If you like, you probably don't have a take on this. You're not expected to. Atlanta, first 5 innings.
Oh, the first 5 innings things. Yeah, sorry. I caught that part. My bad. Yeah, I typically don't do those types of bets, like the first 5 innings things. I'm much more of a prop guy than I am a single game betting guy, especially a portion of a game betting thing. So that's typically not where I look to do that stuff.
Let's see. Thoughts on Gilbert, considering, Odor and Dixon in there, and no Bogarts. I think Gilbert gets a little bit of a bump incrementally. I'm still not running to him, but if I'm playing Gilbert, I'm not angry about it. It's just that he's the same price as the guys I really, really like. I'm not upset about Gilbert, right? He's good.
Same page with me too.
All right, you're talking about Sawinski and Rizzo in chat. Throw my question out. 2 for 2. McMahon and Tim Anderson are Marte and McCutchen. Yeah. I mean, my rant on Tim Anderson, if you believe that I have the ability to mush players, Tim Anderson, he's due for a homer, but the dude does not hit balls in the air, which is kind of a problem. McMahon is probably going to face left on left Mania for at least probably maybe 2 at-bats in this game. I don't love that. I love McCutchen, and I'm fine with Marte. So the two for two. McMahon and Anderson versus Marte and McCutchen. I assume that's Cattell, right? That's Cattell Marte. I imagine there's 2 Martes. There's Starling, but I'm guessing it's a second baseman because, yeah, it's got to be Cattell and McCutchen. That's my side. Give me Cattell and McCutchen versus McMahon and Anderson. Do you agree or disagree?
Yes, I am with you 100%.
Would you stack the Reds without De La Cruz? I mean, you can. I don't know why I would feel the need to do it.
I'm running 100 lineups, and I am doing that once. I have 1 McLean in a red stack.
Is McLean only shortstop eligible? I thought he was a second baseman.
No, he is only shortstop eligible on DraftKings.
Okay.
And so I have 1 lineup in my 100. I do think it's sneaky for tournaments, but it's also a huge slate. And De La Cruz is kind of the reason we would want to stack the Reds in the first place. So
I like the idea.
But I like the idea, but it's definitely something I'd only do if I'm playing lots of lineups like I am.
We do not have a Cubs lineup yet, right? They're asking about Amaya. Amaya is probably your cheap catcher, like your full punt catcher, if he cracks that lineup. I think we're projecting both, right? We're projecting Amaya and Gomes to be in there. Yeah, against Tyler Anderson. I'm fine with Amaya at 2.3K if he cracks it. He's my favorite cheap, like dirt cheap catcher. Do you have a favorite dirt cheap catcher, a take on Amaya? We don't know if he's in or not, but assuming he's in, obviously.
Yeah, Maya would probably be my favorite dirt cheap one. Next on the list would, I guess, probably be Gabriel Moreno. I actually do have a little bit more Moreno than I do Amaya today, so I'd say he's probably my favorite.
Sub 5%.
I don't mind Luke Maley either.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. That's only in Cincinnati stacks, right? I assume.
Yes.
Right. That's where Luke Maley is now. I'm pretty sure he's in Cincinnati still. Yes. Okay. I know he was in Cleveland not too long ago. Okay. Sub 5% owned, one-off guy you like. Mine will probably be like Wisdom. I don't know what is. I'm assuming he's about 5%.
Anthony Rizzo for me.
Well, that answers this question then, because Cam IM says I'm torn between Wade and Rizzo. I guess you prefer Rizzo over Wade.
Yes, I prefer Rizzo over Wade in tournaments. I'm with you again on that one.
Chris is asking about just like lineup constructions. You could recommend a 5-2-1 stack, talking DK single entry specifically. I have no issue with that, especially in single entry. I mean, I'm one of those people that I'll do a 3-2-2. Wait, yeah, I'll do like 3-2-2-1 in single entry. I don't care.
I 5-2-1. That looks absolutely beautiful. And then somebody asked as well, who are the Spidey bombs? It's Sawinski and Rizzo. We are 17 likes away from our third one, so keep hammering that like button. And we're lucky today. I'm hanging out for Crunch Time as well. I'm going to be hosting Crunch Time today, and so even more Spidey bombs should be able to easily get us up to 200 likes, so we get a fourth one today.
Jared says, I'm pretty new to the DFS. How do all these DFS pros end up with the same exact lineups in cash? There's like 100 people with the same lineup. I mean, some
you
people
go
probably
to Lineup HQ and you hit that button that says optimize, and it will give you the highest projected lineup. And in cash games, the highest projected lineup is what you're going for. You're not worried about ownership. And so often people will adjust a few things in there, but sometimes people just do the exact lineup that the optimizer spits out. So that's how.
Cardinals versus Dunning. Where do you have the Cardinals? 1 through 5. 5, you love them. 1, you hate them. 3, you're kind of wishy-washy. How do you feel about St. Louis today? Dunning has yet to yield a homer all season long. He's due to give one up. That's how that works, right?
I will say 2. They are in my pool, but I have 2 stacks in my 100 lineups of Cardinals.
Steven is considering Charlie Blackmon or Giancarlo Stanton on FanDuel. Can't decide. I assume you're going to go Stanton because you prefer the Yankees, and also Charlie Blackmon's kind of terrible now.
Yeah, I would do that as well.
We major any interest in Luis Urias. He's a full punt on FanDuel 2K. I don't think it's because you think he's great, but he's 2K. That's the nicest thing we could say about him.
Yeah, not really. But if it makes it so you really like the rest of your lineup, then sure.
DK single entry. Alan wants to know DK single entry: Schmidt or Musgrove for a single entry lineup.
Schmidt.
Jose, what about Henry in cash? No.
Hard no.
So it's a quick no from both of us. Can you handle a 3v3? A 3v3? Are you prepared for such a thing?
I am. Yes, let's do it.
All right. Brandon wants to know, this is for DraftKings for cash, 3v3. We don't have a San Francisco lineup, but we're assuming these guys are all in the lineup, obviously, for the purpose of the question. Sable, Yastrzemski, and Haniger. Haniger has a nice price over there. Versus Gomes, Acuna, and Peralta for DK cash.
What was the first one again?
3 Giants. Sable, Yaz,
it's 3 Giants.
and
It's
Haniger.
3 Giants. Yeah, in cash, it's the 3 Giants.
Yeah. I think you're like, I would personally I don't know what the rest of your lineup looks like, but I think the first stud you should prioritize in cash today is Betts. I saw Acuna as being an option. I think Betts is the first guy you spend up for in your cash lineups. We don't have that lineup just yet, right? I'm just giving a refresh.
We don't have the lineup, but we do have Tim and Will. How you doing, guys? What's going on, Tim? Are you ready to have some fun today?
It's going to be a lot of fun, TJ. I'm pretty excited. On the edge of my seat.
12 game slate. We got only 5 more likes away from our first Spidey bomb. How's it going, Will?
Is it Sunday is the question. Like that's what I want to know, because this feels like, Tim, is this like Groundhog Day from Sunday? Wow. I mean, I just very rarely will we have the same crew on from a Sunday to a Tuesday. So I think I'm most excited about that, Tim. I do like the slate, by the way, but this is the real deal here.
I wish I had my Bloody Mary from brunch. You know, that would really make it a Sunday.
Bloody Marys is like the stone worst drink. Of course, you're drinking Bloody Marys. They're so gross.
That's a horrible take. Dean.
Terrible take. You put Tabasco in there and the celery stick and then spicy and the tomato juice. The whole thing is nonsense. Why? That's your go-to?
How about some shrimp and some bacon in there too?
Well, why not just have shrimp and bacon and like an actual drink that tastes good?
So Tim, I'm not a Bloody Mary drinker by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm also not a Bloody Mary hater. And so what you have to realize about Dean is Dean just hates on anything that's actually food or drink related. I don't even know what he actually eats. I feel like Dean eats cornflakes for every meal of the day with water, not milk. Like I don't know what he's doing.
I'll never forget when Kirkwood and Chop asked him what he was having for dinner, and he said a wrap. A wrap. What does that even mean? He says a wrap. I'm gonna have a wrap. I'm gonna have a wrap for dinner.
All right, you guys are having a good time. I'm gonna take off. Hit the like button, do subscribe, and TJ, hold it down. The Fanduel sponsor crunch time. It starts now with TJ's words.
All right, we got that straggler out of here finally, and now it's time to take down some money. It's not NBA, it's MLB crunch time, joined by my same guys who I was joined with by Sunday. We got TastefulTides, we got Will, and we got a big 12-game slate. So we're going to just get right into it. I said the third Spidey Bomb's coming at 150 likes. We did just reach 150, and so Spidey Bomb number 3, it's on Cincinnati. It's Jake Fraley leading off up against Tony Gonsolin, one of the luckiest pitchers in the league this year. You can find him for plus 550 on Caesars. So Spidey Bomb number 1 is Sawinski. Number 2, Anthony Rizzo. Number 3, Jake Fraley. Keep hitting that like button. We got the next Spidey Bomb at 200 likes. We got almost 500 people watching, so that should be nice and easy. Also, if you're looking to make some bets today, you can sign up for the Fanduel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state and take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. I swear, I don't host that often, but I swear every time I do this read, that no-sweat first bet is bigger than it was before. Like, I swear it started at a couple $100, then it was 500, then it was 1,000, then it was 1,500, then 2, and now it's up to 25. So if you haven't signed up for FanDuel yet, make sure you do that, because that is a great offer as well. Tim, I want to throw it to you first. You're a guy who typically plays some cash games and some single entry stuff. What's your overview on this huge 12-game slate? We got Coors, we got a couple other 6+ totals, and we got a lot of great pitching as well.
Yeah, big slate. I mean, it's pretty straightforward for cash games. I'm pretty sure it's Kevin Gausman for me on FanDuel, and then it's Keller Gausman for me on DK. There are different types of builds that you can do on DK where you could go like Schmidt, Gausman, Keller, Schmidt. You could even go like Gausman, Musgrove. I think Musgrove is a fantastic play today. Musgrove is actually, he might be my favorite tournament pitcher on FanDuel just because he's really, really too cheap. But he is going to come with quite a bit of projected ownership also. But Keller and Gausman are the two pay-up options that's pretty clear. Hunter Brown, I'm not on today. Same thing with like Bryce Elder and Logan Gilbert and Shane Bieber. Those guys, I only play one team, but even if I was spreading out, I think those guys would be a pass. Freddie Peralta, I think is pretty interesting on DraftKings, at least at 7,700. I think he's in play at 8,900 on FanDuel, but not my favorite. But for cash, it's some combination of Keller, Gausman, and Musgrove. I think those are the three that I would consider for DraftKings cash.
Yeah, I think that makes sense for me from a cash perspective or even single entry. I think I'd really want to prioritize those two expensive guys, Keller and Gausman. I'd try and force them in and then find some salary savings elsewhere. From a tournament perspective on FanDuel, I do really, really like Clark Schmidt going up against the White Sox. The White Sox aren't very great. Schmidt is a reverse. He strikes out more righties than he does lefties. So sorry, not reverse slits. That makes sense. He's a right-handed pitcher. And there's a ton of righties in this lineup against Chicago. So I really like him for tournaments. Chief, what's your breakdown of this slate? It's a big one. How are you handling it?
Well, we're gonna stick with Schmidt because the reason I like him today. So first of all, I didn't expect the Chicago lineup to actually be this bad today, but like we kind of got the bad Chicago White Sox lineup today. So I think in tournament Schmidt is a really good play, especially on FanDuel. I don't think he has more actual upside than Gausman or Keller. Like Keller's my guy, and he gets Oakland today, so like I'm not. Straight up, I love Keller more than anybody else, me personally. That's kind of my guy today. But Schmidt should not be 7,700 on this slate, and that's the problem, right? He's too cheap. He probably should have been, let's call it 9K in this spot, and we're pretty much getting a really big discount on him. So I like him a ton because it's going to allow me to load up on the bats. This lineup, man, the Chicago White Sox lineup, 32% at the bottom, 41% at the bottom. It's really bad. So like him a ton. I think another guy that's interesting on FanDuel is I agree on the Peralta take. I'm not as thrilled about it as, say, Musgrove, because Musgrove is just too cheap at 8,300 facing the Mariners. Him and Schmidt, to me, are kind of in this same weird boat where they've got a ton of strikeouts that are going to be piling up, and they're nowhere near 10K. So I think those two guys, Schmidt and Musgrove, are going to really give you an opportunity to pile up on some bats or some big stacks, if you like. I do like a sprinkle of Peralta, and then of course up top, I think it's Keller, I think it's Gausman, and to be honest, I'd probably X everybody else out. Not that Lucas Giolito can't have a good day against the Yankees, but if you're I think I want to keep my player pool small, at least a pitcher with one pitcher site. Keller, Gausman, Schmidt, a sprinkle of Peralta, and Joe Musgrove. Those are my guys.
I like it. Let's pivot to talking a little bit of stacks because we have a lot of different teams on this big slate, and the San Francisco Giants are in Coors, and they're going to be the chalk tonight, but we also did just get the lineup, and we got a powerful, big kind of A-plus Giants lineup today with everybody back. The only thing we were expecting is no Sable, and Conforto is actually in there instead of him today. no Schmidt as well. It's Brandon Crawford in there for him. So no Schmidt, no Sabal. Make sure you don't have them in your lineups. But San Fran is projecting as the chalkiest team on the slate and the highest projected team on the slate as well. Tim, how are you handling them? Are you forcing them in cash? But what are you doing in your tournament build?
Yeah, you can definitely force some of them into your cash game builds. I don't think that you have to play like 4 on FanDuel or anything like that, but like a couple here and there on both FanDuel and DraftKings is completely fine. As pivots and single entries, I really like the Dodgers and Atlanta. The Dodgers get a great, matchup in Cincinnati. That lineup is just up and down, so strong, so full of power. The way that, if I don't want to double pay up at pitching because there's so many premium stacks tonight. So it's hard to get to Gosman and Keller and play Atlanta and play the Dodgers or even some of these Giants bats. So I think that's why one of the reasons why you need to get some exposure to this mid-range in pitching. And then the Atlanta going up against, one of the best matchups you could possibly get. And I really like Atlanta. And then I think Pittsburgh as like some value for some salary saving options is a really strong play as well.
I agree. I think those are definitely all the top stacks on the board. Atlanta and Pittsburgh and the Dodgers, I think, are probably my 3 favorite pivots off of San Francisco today. We're still waiting on the lineup, but I do really like getting to the Cubs today up against Tyler Anderson because they're going fairly low owned and they're nice and cheap. And that's a team on DraftKings that does allow you to double spend up at pitcher today. So that's another team I wanted to throw into there as well. I also like Arizona, and for large field stuff, I think the Yankees are very interesting for tournaments. Who do you like today from a stack perspective, Chief?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Arizona's coming in with a lot more ownership on FanDuel than I initially anticipated. So I'm probably going to bump down my ownership on them a touch, but the top of this order is getting a ton. And I love Gerald Perdomo when he's at the bottom of the order. When I get him in the 9 hole, I get very excited. So I'm probably going to bump my exposure up to him against Irvin. This team should be able to score some runs. I like the Pirates. They're getting ownership as well. Sneakily, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to play the Blue Jays against Hunter Brown. And it's not that I think Hunter Brown's bad, but I'm saying young pitcher going into Toronto, potent offense. If we get him just off his game, right, Toronto's going to have the roof open tonight. So I do want to get some exposure to the Blue Jays as well. That's kind of a sneaky stack that they're not facing the worst pitcher on the slate, but I think they could do some damage here if Hunter Brown does not have a good start. I'm a Braves homer. Love the Braves today against Carlos Carrasco. And if you caught the Take Your Pick'em show, then I had a special guest on that really liked Matt Olson total bases today. And I think that's a great call against Mr. Carrasco. So don't hate the Braves. Same thing for the Dodgers. Don't hate the Dodgers. In reverse, I don't hate the Reds. I don't hate the Brewers against Kyle Gibson. Don't hate the Rangers against Liberatore. I am going to be fading Coors as usual. And don't hate the Cubs against the Angels.
We did just get a Cubs lineup today. Whoops. No Mancini, who we were projecting in there. And then I believe there's an outfielder that we are missing as well. I can't tell. And Morel is not in the lineup either today. So it's Horner, Swanson, Happ, Suzuki, Gomes, Amaya, Tauchman, Wisdom, and Mervis today. That does, I think, downgrade them a little bit for me. One of the reasons why I did like them was somebody like a Mancini, who is one of the only cheap plays at first base on DraftKings that I like today. But still, with having those nice 2 cheap catchers in there, it does give a lot of opportunity to use them as a mini stack as well. Let's start taking it position by position. Starting at the catcher position, Tim, I'm going to throw it to you. Reminder, hit that like button. I got the 4th Spidey Bomb coming at 200 likes. We are only 25 likes away. Hit the like button. And if you got questions, I'm going to be going to the RotoGrinders Discord page first, followed by the YouTube page second. So hit that like and get your QQs in as well. Tim, start me out at the catcher position.
Yeah, so I'd like to be able to play Will Smith today, but I think he's just too expensive. Obviously, if you're kind of paying down at pitching and you can fit him, by all means, play him. You know, he's getting really, really high in terms of salary, but that should keep his ownership down. Sean Murphy at 4,500 would be my next favorite play. It's going to be all about the Dodgers in Atlanta for me today. If you need to save, like maybe you want to punt for cash games, Gabriel Moreno for the Diamondbacks, I think would be an okay play. Elias Diaz going up against Sean Manaea is obviously a fine play as well. And then I think everyone else for me would be just kind of a part of a stack.
You can, I think you can also go down to Amaya batting 6th today for the Cubs at 2,300 from a cash perspective. Yan Gomes, I do like as well in that same lineup for tournaments. Chief, who do you like today at catcher? You are gone, frozen. I don't think we have Chief. So I'll give my tournament takes. It's Amaya. It's Gomes. Those are the two guys I really like going to today at the catcher position. And then I'm also getting to a lot of Patrick Bailey today for the Giants. He's going to be my highest owned catcher as well. Tim, take us to first base. Give us the single entry and optimal plays, and then I'll be able to add some sneaker ones as well. Of course, if you got sneaky ones, get them in. But I'll handle tournaments, and if you want to handle cash.
Yeah, so it's kind of a toss-up between Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson for me. I think I'm leaning Freddie Freeman, but really it's a 50-50 between those two guys. I'm leading Freddie for cash games just because I think he's a little bit more consistent. I love Christian Walker. It was a really good call by you to talk about Arizona. Lamont Wade, 4,000. Trying to see kind of what his pinch hit risk would be. Maybe it's, I guess it's only 8%. That's still fine for cash. I still think I'd rather pay up for one of these Atlanta or Dodger bats over Lamont Wade, but it is Coors, so that's a tough one. And then I think like Anthony Rizzo would be good for tournaments. Paul Goldschmidt would be fine. But I don't think that this is really a position that I want to punt. I'd rather pay up for first base today.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think especially on DraftKings, like there's nobody really lower than 4K that I want to be going to, especially now that Mancini's out. And then on FanDuel, 2,900 Rowdy Tellez would probably be as low as I'd want to go from a tournament perspective. I love Anthony Rizzo today. He was one of our Spidey bombs. He is my highest owned first baseman today in the 100 lineups that I'm building. Also love Matt Olson. You can, of course, play Shohei Ohtani here at first base as well. And then Freddie Freeman is another guy that I like quite a bit. Chief, do we have you back? Oh, we had him back for a second, but then it was just the frozen picture back in. And so
I just wanted to bring up one quick thing on FanDuel. Pavin Smith, he's 2,900. He's batting leadoff, but just be aware that he comes with really, really big pinch hit risk. So I would not play him in cash games.
None, because Washington doesn't have a single left-handed. Pitcher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's. I'm glad that we brought this up then, because yeah, he's a really, really strong play, and he's outfield eligible also. So he might be in the conversation for cash, just even at the outfield position, even if you still want to pay up at first. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up
too, because that's something that Dean brought up. Typically, he'd have big pinch hit risk, but this Washington team does not have any lefties in their bullpen. Chief just mentioned in chat it is storming at his house and messing with the internet, so please stay safe. That's more important than crunch time, anyways. We got you covered, so hopefully that storm passes soon and everything's all good. Tim, take us to second base.
Yeah, so on FanDuel, I think you got to play Mookie, and I think it should be at second base. just because it can be such a weak position. So I think Mookie's the cash game guy. Estrada. Did Estrada crack the lineup, TJ? I didn't actually see that.
Yes,
Giants
he did.
line.
Estrada is there.
All right. So then, yeah, Estrada can obviously be a candidate in any format. I do prefer Mookie if you have that extra $100 on FanDuel. Ketel Marte would be a pretty decent. He's down in 3,300. Pretty decent price for him. Ozzie Albies, I really like today. He's the guy that I'm playing on FanDuel in my single entry tournament team. Batting 6th at 3,000. I'm hoping that he kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But there are some pretty strong second base options. Brandon Donovan, batting leadoff, 2,600. The Cardinals I don't think they're a great stack today, but I think that they're worthy of getting bits and pieces of. And then possibly like Gleyber Torres as like a part of a Yankee stack, or like Semien as like a contrarian one-off. But second base is, I don't know, it's not great.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Mookie Betts is like second is probably where you're going to be wanting to play him today. He's one of the top bats on the slate. On FanDuel, you do have Marcano at 2.4K. He's shortstop on DraftKings, but 2.4K on FanDuel, I don't mind whatsoever there. And then on DraftKings, Betts is my highest owned, followed by Estrada. Vargas is number 3 in that same Dodgers lineup, just because I need to save some salary. But I also really like Ketel Marte. Don't mind some Nico Horner or Marcus Semien today either. Take us over to third base, Tim.
Yeah, so let me just shoot it right over real quick. Yeah, so Max Muncy is the top play at third on both sites, followed by Austin Riley. Austin Riley, I think, is too cheap on FanDuel. So I think if you wanted to go Riley in cash games, that's probably the correct play, is to play Austin Riley in cash. JD Davis in that Coors Field game, I think is a great play. And then at FanDuel, Elly De La Cruz is third base only, whereas on DraftKings he's shortstop only. He's 2,800 on FanDuel. He's going to be way, way higher owned on DK at 2K, but I think that makes him a great tournament play on FanDuel. Just because if people are playing both sites, they're going to get their exposure to him on DraftKings. Get your exposure to him on FanDuel also. His price isn't as good, but he's going to be lower owned. So I think he makes for a fantastic tournament play.
I like it. I'm with you on that one as well. Muncy is my favorite here by a fairly wide margin. He's a bit more expensive on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, he's going to be in almost a third of my lineups today. JD Davis is my next favorite, followed by Austin Riley. And from there, it's really just guys in some stacks for me. I don't mind Josh Jung, Josh Donaldson, Ryan McMahon, but it's mostly just stack players for me outside of Muncy, Davis, and Riley. And so Muncy is going to be my top choice by a lot. But I'm with you on that Riley call, especially on a FanDuel, because of that price difference. 3.1K is just way too cheap for him. Shortstop is where we can have a bit longer of a conversation, because on DraftKings, I thought we were going to be getting bigger chalk than this. We're actually not projecting Elly De La Cruz batting 4th for Cincinnati for much more than like 15% owned today. To me, I think that's a cash game must. Marcano is leading off at 2.1 as well. I value Elly De La Cruz quite a bit ahead of him. I don't know. I'm playing 100 lineups today, Tim, and I have De La Cruz in 58%.
Yeah, that's a strong stance. I would anticipate that he'll be higher owned than 15%. But it's I don't know. Maybe he'll be like 25%. I think Marcano is going to be an absolutely tremendous pivot, whether you're playing cash or single entries, just because De La Cruz is a shiny new toy. It's like, and they don't really rate out any differently. They're projected for basically the same, and everyone's going to flock to De La Cruz, which is fine. Like, he might end up absolutely smashing, but I don't think he's any kind of like tremendous difference. So I think Marcano makes for a really, really strong pivot. And then also the other side of the coin is, you know, you could pay up for shortstop, which I think would end up being super contrarian because people are just going to punt the position. And then that leaves guys like Dansby Swanson, Corey Seager, you know, completely unknown. Matt McLean is going to be super, super low owned because they're going to go to De La Cruz in the exact same team. So, you know, I think not punting the shortstop position could end up being a very, very contrarian way of just having a different type of lineup construction.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like the Seagers, the Bichettes, the Swansons, even McLean in that same game, and Anthony Volpe are guys that I don't mind today. It'll be interesting to see because Marcano was the chalk this morning. He was projecting it like 25-30% owned earlier today, and now they're both projecting at 15%. So it's going to be very interesting to see how many people do make that adjustment to De La Cruz because he is new and shiny, the number one prospect in baseball, like you said. Or maybe if people are asleep at the wheel and are just looking at projections, they are going to be pretty similar. So it'll be interesting to see how they even out. Chief, are you playing on DraftKings today? Welcome back, first and foremost. Are you playing on DraftKings? And if you are, how are you handling the Ellie De La Cruz, Tucapita Marcano, two min price guys leading off and batting cleanup at shortstop today on DraftKings?
Yeah, I don't mind either one of them. I'm kind of going to treat it like I did when Tatis was basically 2K, 3K, whatever he was. I'm not going to be, rushing to do it because the whole field is going to be doing it. I'm for sure going to be on some other guys, and you guys already kind of mentioned them at the top of the list, like, Dansby Swanson and Seager, like those are really good plays today. I don't hate Lindor even at 4,700. One of my favorites, though, I know he's in the 9-hole, but Perdomo from Arizona at 3,900 has been a kind of a staple for me this season, and especially when the fact that I want to get to some Arizona stacks, I will have some of him as well. You've got Ha-Seong Kim leading off as well against Gilbert, and not that I think he's going to mow Gilbert down, but kind of a similar situation. He's cheap. Once again, I'm not trying to convince anyone out of a 2K player. If I had to choose one, it would probably be Marcano straight up. But all in all, I'm definitely going to be at the top of the salary distribution today at shortstop.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out when we hit lock in 20 minutes because currently both the Bat and the RotoGrinders Plate IQ projections are projecting both Marcano and De La Cruz for sub 15% on DraftKings today. Not even just one of them, it's both of them. So it'll be very interesting to see if those guys do come in at Mega Chalk. The higher dollar stuff will obviously have them higher owned than elsewhere, but in large field stuff, it'll really be interesting to see if those guys do turn into big mega chalk today. We got so much time. We still got 20 minutes here before lock. We are absolutely crushing it. So make sure you hit that like button. 20 more likes away for Spidey Bomb number 4. We got over 500 people watching. I want to give a 5th Spidey Bomb. I want to hit 250 likes. So keep smashing that like button. Outfield is stacked today, Tim. Who are you prioritizing today in the outfield?
Yeah, my priority spend would be a Ronald Acuna on both sites. I've mentioned how much I really like Atlanta. Obviously, he's expensive, but I think that you can get to him. Jock Peterson, I think if there is one San Francisco player that I really do want to play quite a bit, it would be Peterson. I think Jack Sawinski is going to be like a popular punt kind of spot today, especially on DraftKings at 3,100. I think I have no problem with that. Michael Conforto, another one of these San Francisco outfielders who I like quite a bit today. I think Corbin Carroll is a player that gets kind of lost in the shuffle here just because outfield's so loaded. I think Arizona is going to get squeezed a little bit. Oh, and then another like value play that's pretty cheap on DraftKings is Michael Harris for Atlanta.
I love that call. Yeah,
he's 3,000. So I really like him as like a contrarian punt outfielder.
Yeah, I like that. I like the Conforto call too, because he's somebody that we weren't projecting in the lineup today and did make the lineup. And so he's somebody that could easily end up being left out of people's San Francisco stacks today. Chief, who are you liking today at the outfield?
So we've got Marcano here, who is leading off at shortstop with Pittsburgh. With around 13% on DraftKings. Then we've got Palacios at 2K. And he's only getting 5% ownership. Like I'm digging some Palacios today, along with the other outfielders. Sawinski, you can play Connor Joe in the outfield if you want. Reynolds, McCutcheon, like you can really get creative, I think, with this Pittsburgh outfield. So I really like them. I do think spending up for Reynolds is going to be very contrarian against Cap today. Got him projected around 8%. But I like this Pittsburgh outfield. You know, I did talk about the Blue Jays. Just as a kind of a very contrarian stack against a really good young pitcher in Hunter Brown. But once again, playing a really good ballpark tonight. These guys are at home. So I don't hate them as well. You got Witt at 3,500. You got Varsho at 3,600. Kiermaier at the bottom, 26, and Springer at the top. I like their collection of outfielders. I don't hate some Boston outfield as well. Bieber hasn't been great this year. Has been able to eat innings. Weather isn't the best, but I don't hate him as well. The Dodgers outfield, of course, you got Hayward at 2,600, who just seems to always hit a home run whenever I'm on the Dodgers. So kudos to him. Peralta, you got JD out there, but these Hayward and Peralta are just very cheap, and you can get those guys in with Mookie if you choose. The outfield here for Atlanta. Finally, they've got Rosario and Ozuna above 3K, but still probably not high enough. Ozuna at 3,300, and hopefully he doesn't admire a 415-foot single today and can run the bases and stay in the game. Rosario at 3,100, of course, and I agree. A big deal with Michael Harris on the wraparound. I heard Tim talking about that. That's one that I really like. And then, of course, the Rangers. You got Grossman. You've got Tavares, another wraparound situation. Adolis Garcia is expensive, but I really like this team a great deal. And then, you know, the Cubs outfield, even though they might not be at full strength, I still like them against Tyler Anderson.
I love it. At the outfield today, obviously, I love two of my Spidey Bombs, Jake Fraley and Jack Sawinski. They are going to be my two highest owned outfielders today. I love the Pavin Smith call that Tim and I talked about earlier with us not worried about that pinch hit risk since there are no lefties in that Washington bullpen. And I also really like Carroll, Peterson, the Arizona cheapies, the Atlanta cheapies, the Pittsburgh cheapies, and the Giants today as well. So I'm with you guys on those ones. How close are we to Spidey Bomb number 4? 10 likes away. Keep smashing that like button. We are 15 minutes to lock. Lots of time for some QQs. I am starting in the RotoGrinders Crunch Time Discord channel. And then, of course, we are pivoting to YouTube either after as well. And at 200 likes, we got our 4th Spidey Bomb. All right, Tim, DK Cash. For the cheap shortstop, are you playing Ellie Lilly or Tippy Canoe in cash?
I guess it's Ellie. Just because he'll be higher owned, just use him as a blocker, I guess.
It's Dela Cruz for me in cash today as well. Let's not forget, let's get more hyped about this, Tim. It's fun. This is the number 1 prospect in baseball. Come on. Ellie Dela Cruz is the guy. I got him in 60% of my lineups today. NBA DFS and Fanduel cash. Tim, I'll keep the cash questions for you. Then I'll throw the tournament ones to you, Chief. Rosario and Dela Cruz or Sawinski and Marcano for cash. Tim.
Yeah, see, that's tough.
This is tough for Tim. Wow.
I think the second one.
Yeah, that is very tough. I think on FanDuel as well, where Dela Cruz isn't that min price, and I do really like Sawinski today. Although I like Rosario, but I think I'd go with the Sawinski one too. DK Cap, sticking with you, Tim. Missed the top of the show. Are you going with Gaussman and Musgrove in cash, or are you double paying up?
I'm actually going to be going Gaussman, Musgrove. But if you find a lineup that you like to go double pay up, then go for it because Keller's in a great spot. But I'm actually going to go Gaussman, Musgrove.
Will, in a FanDuel single entry, who do you like as your pitcher today?
Keller or Schmidt?
Keller or Schmidt, I'm with you there as well. Those are my two favorites for a FanDuel single entry. Also, are we sleeping on Pittsburgh stacks for GPPs? I don't think
so.
No.
I don't think we're sleeping on them. We like them. We like them a lot today.
And I think they're gonna get ownership. And I'm not saying not to play them, but I don't think people are not sleeping on them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. For what it's worth, they're my 5th highest owned full stack, and my 2nd highest owned mini stack today. I do like them more. I think
they have like a 5.5 total. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and
they do.
They're dirt cheap. They're dirt cheap. Like people are gonna play them.
In cash, who do you like as a catcher today, Tim? Are you paying up with Will Smith, or are you paying down with somebody like Moreno or Amaya?
I'm actually right now. I have Sean Murphy in there.
Sean Murphy, I like it. I think it's between those cheap guys we talked about, Smith, Murphy, and Bailey. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of those answers. Could you recap the Spidey bombs? Yes, I sure can. Jack Sawinski, Anthony Rizzo, Jake Fraley were the first 3, and we got our 4th game today. Our 4th Spidey bomb. As soon as we get 7 more likes, we need to get up to 200. FanDuel Cash, Tim, Rosario and Jock Peterson, or Otani and David Peralta?
What was the first one again, TJ? I'm sorry.
Eddie Rosario and Jock Peterson.
I think the first one.
Yeah, I think that makes sense as well. Pivoting to YouTube here. See if we got any questions in the YouTube chat. A lot of Rosario versus Sawinski questions for cash. We've had a couple people ask that one, and I think that one's definitely Sawinski. Like, I think if you can get Sawinski in your lineup, that's the guy you got to go with. I like Rosario, but I think Sawinski is the top point per dollar play on the board today. Tim, did you see what position? This is a question from Discord. Did you see what position Dela Cruz is actually playing today? He's shortstop eligible on DraftKings. He's 3rd base on FanDuel. Why the difference? Did they just not know what he was going to play? I didn't actually see that one.
I don't know why. I'm just happy he's in the pool. So let's just celebrate that. Let's just celebrate that they put him in the pool.
Yeah.
Exactly. I am with you there. The fact that we get to play him today is exciting. I'm not too worried about what position, and he is, for what it's worth, playing 3rd today. I think he is a natural shortstop, but they have McLean playing shortstop. I'm not positive about that, but that's just what I'm gathering looking at the lineup. QQ, last piece in a Dodgers stack. Will, I'll throw this to you. So it is a Dodger stack, but this doesn't really have anything to do with that because these players are on different teams. Would you rather go Donovan or Rosario as a one-off?
Rosario.
Rosario, I think I agree with that one as well. DK Cash, Tim, I'm spending up at pitcher and going with a budget outfield. Do you like Sawinski, McCarthy, and Peralta?
I do. That's fine. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I don't have any problems with that. I think I would probably want to get like maybe Sawinski and Rosario in there as maybe instead of McCarthy, but that's kind of how I would want. But other than that, I like that quite a bit. Favorite FanDuel GPP pitcher. We've touched on that one already, but it's Keller if you're spending up top, and it's Clark Schmidt if you're spending down for both Will and I. Pivoting back to YouTube here, 10 minutes before lock. Make sure you get your lineups in. DK Cash, Tim, Vargas or Castro?
Ooh, I think Vargas.
Who do we think has the biggest Giants pinch hit risk today? Tim, if maybe I can, because you use the bat, correct? If you don't mind pulling that up, I will throw another question in the meantime. And we're 2 likes away from the 4th Spidey bomb, so make sure you keep hammering that like button. Will, what do you think about Baltimore and Washington in tournaments? Because we've had 2 different people talk about how we are sleeping on them.
I don't hate Washington because I'm not some big believer in Tommy Henry, Baltimore, they're going to be a little further down for me against Peralta. And so here's the thing about Peralta. If you're game log watching, like Peralta's had some tough matchups. This is probably the easiest matchup he's had in maybe 4 or 5 games, I would say. And maybe 4 or 5 may be a stretch, but he hasn't had this soft of a matchup recently. And so I'd be very weary of Baltimore coming out pounding Peralta today.
All right. I like that one quite a bit. Baltimore did give out a little bit of a weaker lineup too, with no Mullins and no Henderson in there.
So listen, these are Peralta's last 5 starts: Toronto, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, St. Louis, and the Dodgers. Like those are his last 5 starts. Like he's got a shot at a nice day today against this team.
So for those looking for a Giants pinch hit risk, it's Crawford at 19%, Yaz at 14%, Peterson at 10%, Wade at 8%, and Bailey at 5%. So it's really Crawford and Yaz I would be the most concerned about.
Yeah, Crawford especially, I think, would be the big one. They're playing so many different outfielders today that I'm not even really all that worried about Yaz as much, just because like Haniger's already in there. And so I could maybe see it being Crawford for Schmidt as kind of like the most likely one that I think we would see there. From our own RotoGrinders' own Alex Santi, DK single entry, will you like Freddie Peralta and JD Martinez or Paxton and Renfroe?
Ooh, I think I'm going Peralta Martinez.
I think I would do that one as well. DK GPP, back to you, Will. Shohei and Jason Hayward or Freddie Freeman and Eddie Rosario?
Man, I like both. Give me Freeman Rosario.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I like that one.
If the weather was more warm in LA, I probably would have went the other way for what it's worth.
Fair. Very fair. Time for Spidey Bomb number 4. We have reached 200 likes, and so our 4th Spidey Bomb of the day, we are going back to Pittsburgh, where we went for the first one, and it is Brian Reynolds. We had another question. Would you rather go Brian Reynolds or who was it today? Or JD Martinez? I can't decide between the two. I already have Sawinski. I like JD today, but I think I would go Brian Reynolds there. I think they're both strong plays. I like Reynolds just a little bit better. You can find him for plus 400 to hit a home run over on Fanduel. I like him as a DFS play. I like him as a bet today to hit a home run. Brian Reynolds is Spidey Bomb number 4. Keep hitting that like button for us. We are 5 minutes away from lock here. Seems like we have covered all of the YouTube questions, so I will go back to Discord. We do have a few. In tournaments today, Chief, can you fade the Giants at Colorado? I believe you said you always fade Coors.
Yeah, I fade Coors every slate. So, asking me that question is I'm probably not the right person to ask because I'm committed to fading them pretty much every slate, unless, it's like a 3 or 4 gamer and I kind of have to play them. Big slates, they're getting the X button.
In cash, you definitely need a couple Giants in there, but in tournaments, spoiler alert, you can always fade anybody. In baseball, there's never somebody you absolutely have to play in tournaments in baseball, especially from the bat standpoint. FanDuel cashed him McCarthy and Marte or Rosario and Sawinski.
Rosario, Sawinski.
Me too. I feel the same way. DK GPP, Peralta or Fairchild to round out a full ATL and a mini Cincinnati stack.
Sure.
Peralta or Fairchild, who would be your last piece?
Fairchild.
Fairchild. I think I'd maybe lean Peralta in a vacuum, but if it gives you a mini Cincinnati stack, I think I would do Fairchild as well.
Yeah.
FanDuel single entry, need a one-off at utility. Rizzo, Marte, or Albies. I'll get both of your takes on this. I'll throw it to Will first. For me, this is Anthony Rizzo. How about you?
I'd go Albies. I like Albies today.
Man, I think we all may end up slightly different. I'm probably going Marte to be contrarian, slightly contrarian. Yeah.
I think I'd go Rizzo 1, Marte 2, Albies 3. I think
they're all right though. That's the crazy thing about like everybody's
they're all decent. They're all decent one-offs.
Yeah.
What do we think about Ohtani tonight? Ohtani is a phenomenal play if you can afford him. I don't love the Angels as a full stack, but Ohtani, I think if you go over to scores and odds, he is the number one most likely player to hit a home run today, according to those projections. So Ohtani is a fantastic play. Tim, if we force you to play an entry in an $888 GPP today, who is your stack?
Oh, so that's like a 13 max, I think. Who's my stack? I think it's going to be Atlanta.
Atlanta, I like it.
Yep.
It's warm there. They're facing Carrasco. Tim, Atlanta better not let us down. Me as a fan and you as a DFS player.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. 3 minutes till lock. I've given away 4 Spidey bombs. We got one more QQ, then I want some home run calls from you guys. With Dodgers, Atlanta, and Arizona so expensive, who do you like as a 4-man stack to get leverage to Keller? I don't really understand the question.
I think he's trying to play Keller, and those
Who's your
other
favorite
stacks are too expensive. So I guess he's looking for a cheap stack.
Yeah, I think that's what it means as well. Different thing than leverage, but that's all right. We're all still learning. Favorite cheap stack for me today, I think, is the Cubs. How about you, Will?
Probably gonna eat the chalk with the Pirates if I'm going all the way up.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair too. The Cubs for me to get super sneaky if you're double paying up at pitcher, but I agree. I like pitcher there as well. Chief, going to you first. Give me a couple home run calls. I want an expensive one and I want a cheap one.
Okay, so let's see. On the expensive end, I'm trying to go off the board here. Give me Corey Seager, lefty against Matthew Liberatore. Good ISO numbers this year, low K rates. On the cheap end, give me Marcell Ozuna from Atlanta.
I like it. DK Cash, Tim, I want you to answer this one, and then I want your home run calls. Are you going Christian Walker or Lamont Wade?
I'm going to go Wade in cash.
Yeah, I think that's the play there as well. If it's a tiebreaker between Coors and not Coors and cash, you go Coors. Who do you got for a home run call today? One expensive, one cheap.
So my chalky expensive guy would be Max Muncy. And then let me find someone who's a little bit more off the board here. Maybe I'm going to go David Peralta.
David Peralta, I like it. QQ, Deep Field, GPP, Musgrove, and Mitch Garver, or Liberator and Will Smith. Chief?
Repeat the first one again.
Musgrove and Garver.
Yeah, definitely Musgrove Garver.
DK GPP, Will, Freddie Freeman and Acuna, or Olsen and JD Martinez?
Ooh, man, that's a good one. Give me Freddie Acuna, though.
Yeah, same thing for me. What do you guys think about Gibson versus Milwaukee? I'm playing 100 lineups on DraftKings today, and I have Gibson in like 7 or 8 of them.
I'd side with Milwaukee over Gibson today.
I was too, actually, until I saw Milwaukee's lineup, and that just made me think, you know what? This lineup looks so bad that with so many strikeouts in that second half, that maybe this guy can put together something. But I like Tellez and Yelich a lot today individually. But I got Gibson. I'm just sprinkling him in an MME setting, but I wouldn't use him in anything less than 100 lineups. He wouldn't be in the pool. We have reached lock. Good luck today. We hope everybody makes some money. There is an important QQ I want to hit. Is it true that Roth didn't make the show because he is in police custody right now? No, that is not true. He is in custody, but he is in custody with a sickness. He's not feeling too well. And so we hope Roth starts feeling better. We hope Chief can stay clear of that storm, and hopefully it passes. Spidey bombs today were Sawinski, Reynolds, Rizzo, and Fraley, 3 outfielders and a first baseman, 2 guys at Pittsburgh, 1 in New York, 1 in Cincinnati. And that'll do it for this edition of Crunch Time. Chief, I know you're going to be back tomorrow morning with the Pick'em Show. We got more GrindersLive and more Crunch Time tomorrow evening, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Good luck tonight, everyone. On behalf of myself, TJ Zwarich, Timothy Buell, Tasteful Tides, Will Priester, Chief Justice, and of course, Steve and our wonderful production team behind the scenes. We will see you tomorrow, Grinders. Peace.